The ballistic missile attacks by Iran on Israel has certainly exposed one thing, as if it wasn't exposed enough, which is the rampant, unashamed racism of Western political and media elites when it comes to Palestine and Israel. How Palestinians are dehumanized, how the worth of their lives is practically non-existent when it comes to those elites. That's been clear for a very long time. But there are moments when this racism is so naked, so shameless, so loud and proud, and this is one of them. Now let's start with the official Israel Twitter account. And yes, it is deranged that a country has a troll Twitter account, appropriate in this case, and it posted video footage of the Iranian missiles in the Israeli night sky. The caption of Israel's official Twitter account was in capitals, "This isn't normal," followed by, "Every single one of these rockets is meant to kill." The "this isn't normal" is deeply revealing. What they mean there is missiles should only be raining down on the skies of Arab nations, not Israel. But what of the "every single one of these rockets is meant to kill"? What? Unlike Israeli rockets, which are, what? Tell me, please enlighten me. Are they designed to give their victims hugs and kisses? Now look, when this was all happening, I had apologists for the Israeli state, a charming bunch at the best of times, in my mentions on Twitter, going, "Oh, I bet you love this. I bet you're cheering us on. I bet you couldn't enjoy this more," well, in slightly more colourful and abusive terms. I'll also use some colourful language. "No, you depraved bastards." You see, I'm on team don't bomb things. You're the people who cheer bombing people. And bombs you have cheered on a lot. A huge number of bombs you have been the cheerleaders for, which, unlike in this case, I would note, not a single Israeli civilian was killed, but you have cheered on bombs which have slaughtered tens of thousands, or indeed far more. Indeed, the captain of Team Bomb Things is Israel, which is responsible for the vast majority of bombings in the last year, slaughtering vast numbers of innocent people, many of them kids. I don't want anyone to bomb anyone. And some of us warned that continuing to do this, in the case of Israel, engaging in genocidal mayhem, would only cause a military escalation, which people like myself oppose in all cases. While you line behind a state which literally has officially declared its strategy to be escalate to de-escalate. Now, let's take this other example, shall we, from the Conservative Party leadership candidate Tom Tugendhat, who tweets, "Iran's barbaric attack on Israel is a horrific escalation to this conflict. Tonight, more than ever, I will be praying for Israel." If barbaric is the correct term for this attack, which didn't kill a single Israeli civilian or soldier, and which was objectively directed at military targets, what word would we use to describe the mass slaughter of tens of thousands of people, including vast numbers of babies, toddlers, entire bloodlines wiped from the face of the earth, incinerated, terrified families blown apart in their cars, children shot in the head by snipers, most civilian infrastructure damaged or destroyed so Gaza now looks a different colour and texture when looked at from space, an entire population in Gaza deliberately starved by the Israeli state? Don't take my word for it. Take the word of two US government agencies who have officially declared it to be so. I could go on. If this was barbaric, then what words are used to describe the genocidal mayhem live streamed to us every single day? Now, Western leaders all publicly shared their horror, their fury, their condemnation. As the brilliant British commentator Rachel Shabby put it, anyone can see the double standard in the outpouring of sympathy from Western leaders for Israel after Iran's missile strike and the lack of similar compassion for Lebanese or Palestinian people under bombardment. Well, indeed, spot on. There is no subtlety at all about this racism, none at all. That an attack which kills no Israeli civilians received an outpouring of condemnation and solidarity, while all Palestinians get with the mass butchery of their people is some occasional feeble hand-wringing. Let's see one example, which I'm afraid is utterly infuriating. If your blood pressure is high, maybe look away. It is from the British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer.
The Iranian regime has launched over 200 ballistic missiles at civilian targets in Israel. It's too soon to assess the impact fully, but I utterly condemn this attempt by the Iranian regime to harm innocent Israelis, to escalate this incredibly dangerous situation and push the region ever closer to the brink. It cannot be tolerated. We stand with Israel and we recognise her right to self-defence in the face of this aggression. Iran must stop these attacks, together with its proxies like Hezbollah. Iran has menaced the Middle East for far too long. Chaos and destruction brought not just to Israel, but to the people they live amongst in Lebanon and beyond. Make no mistake, Britain stands full square against such violence. We support Israel's reasonable demand for the security of its people.
That man, that shameless man, has not even shown 1% of the passion he showed there for tens of thousands of butchered Palestinians. No standing with Palestine, no sense whatsoever that Palestinians have a reasonable demand, as he puts it, for the security of their people, without having their skulls ripped from their bodies, their babies cooked alive and the burning remnants of what was once their homes. No saying it cannot be tolerated when so many have been butchered. Israel is currently not just waging war against the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank, it's invading Lebanon and bombing Syria. But no talk of Israel bringing chaos and destruction. Notice too how he keeps calling Israel her. Why that pronoun? Weird, creepy. Why is he doing this? He doesn't use that pronoun for other countries, as others have suggested, to portray Israel as some sort of damsel in distress, rather than a regional military superpower committing genocide, including the weapons and fighter jet components provided by the British government. And notice how he began his address by saying Israel has launched over 200 ballistic missiles at civilian targets, as author Alex Nuns and others flagged. That simply isn't true. As Alex Nuns tweeted, Israel has confirmed several Air Force bases were hit by Iran, while civilian damage was only minor and caused by shrapnel from interception missiles. It's clear that Starmer's team resorted to this lie because they think everyone will be too scared to be smeared as a stooge of the Iranian regime if they tell the truth. But this isn't about any apologism for the Iranian regime. It's the fact that Keir Starmer shows infinitely more solidarity here for fictional civilian targets than he does for the countless actual civilian targets destroyed so lethally by Israel. Again, this is racism. Starmer behaves very clearly as though Palestinian life does not matter to him, because we can see how he does behave when it comes to lives when he does deem them worthy, even when none of those lives has been taken. Oh, but just watch this. Watch this for an example of out of this world, shameless, racist double standards. Here is CNN.
The U.S. intel view that among the targets were Israeli airfields, but also, and this is crucial, the headquarters of Mossad, the international intelligence service of Israel, which is inside Tel Aviv. It's in the northern part of Tel Aviv, but it's in the city. It's in a densely populated area. And of course, the concern is if you're firing, even though Iran might consider that a military target, it is in a densely populated city with civilians around it. And that's just one more layer of escalation.
You cannot make this shit up. This CNN journalist is pointing out that Mossad's HQ is in a densely populated area with civilians around it, and that therefore, if Mossad's HQ is attacked, that's a threat to civilian life. I'm nearly speechless. We have spent the last year having mainstream media outlets constantly parroting the idea that Hamas, or indeed Hezbollah targets, are embedded in civilian areas, which constitutes using those civilians as human shields, justifying and rationalising the mass slaughter of so many innocent people on the basis that military targets are near them, as if any military force on earth is just supposed to pop their headquarters on top of some deserted hill. Turns out no one does this, including the Israeli state, leading this CNN journalist to worry about potential harm to civilians if Mossad's headquarters was attacked. I feel like I'm going mad watching all of this. And I'm brutally aware that I'm a white guy who grew up in Stockport. I'm not a Palestinian. I'm not an Arab. I'm not a Muslim. If I feel like this, how are those with shared lived experiences with those facing this slaughter not going insane? And I read, of course, every day the messages sent to me, as well as, of course, my friends, my comrades, what it's like watching this unfold. And I will just end on this. People like me don't want escalation. We just don't. We genuinely don't. We don't want any civilians to be killed, whoever they are. And the madmen who run Israel and their US patrons are determined to plunge the Middle East into a cataclysmic war in which so many lives are at stake. All because the US will not stop its client state, Israel, from committing genocide. But I think of how angry I feel. And I know that the West has sown a bitter harvest, and the reaping will have hideous consequences for generations to come. Please like and subscribe. Leave your thoughts, your comments as ever. Help keep the show ready. Patreon.com/OJ84. Listen to the podcast. I'll speak to you soon.